At first, I was not impressed with Eye Control Autofocusing. It had the tendency to select the wrong AF point. Welcome back, everyone. So today we're going to be taking a look at this camera. This is the Canon Eos Elan 2E, and it came out in 1995. It was meant to be a mid-level model in Canon's lineup, and one of its key selling points was its Eye Control Autofocusing system. And what that means is that you could put this camera up to your eye, and you can tell it where to focus based on where you were looking at. Sounds a little bit gimmicky, but we're going to see if it has some practical use to it, and see if this camera is worth picking up for shooting 35mm film. Alright, let's get to it. The Elan 2E was a camera that was designed to appeal to a broad audience. It could easily serve as a professional's backup body, or for someone wanting to step up to the next level. The top portion of the camera was made out of aluminum alloy, which extends down to the bayonet mount, and the bottom half out of a composite plastic. On the outside, you'll notice two control knobs, a hot shoe mount, and a square LCD display, which shows different information depending on the camera's mode. The knob on the right is for the camera's tracking modes, and the switch underneath is from going from single into multi-shot. The knob on the left is for the camera's program modes, and the switch underneath is for the different metering modes. Right above that, there's a button for a 10-second self-timer. There's also a multi-function control wheel which doubles as a shutter selector. In the front of the camera, there is an AF illuminator light for autofocusing in low light situations. On the back, there's a dedicated aperture selector wheel and a lock. And just above that, there's an autofocus selector button and AF lock. There's also a pop-up flash. Loading film in this is very easy. All you have to do is open the back of the camera using the switch on the side. Take the film and insert it into the camera, making sure the driver is well seated. Take the leader and pull it across the camera's film plane until it reaches the red mark, and close the door. Turn on the camera, and the camera takes care of the rest. When you're done with your roll, the camera will automatically rewind the film for you. The viewfinder of this camera is a pentaprism type, which offers a 90% coverage of the frame. In the center, you'll notice 3 focus points, and underneath an LCD display for showing your settings. On the top left, there's an Eye Control depth of field preview, which replaces the need for a physical button on the outside of the camera. To access the camera's battery, there's a small door underneath the grip. More on this later. The camera is powered by a single 2CR5 battery. Alright, now let's talk about eye control and how it works. Basically, inside the viewfinder there's a small sensor that actually reads your eye movements. And in order to get it to work properly, you have to calibrate it to your eye. Chances are, since you're getting this camera used, those settings are already programmed, so you'll have to clear them out. Set the mode dial to Cal. Now you'll see the LCD display Cal and a solid or flashing number. Flashing numbers represent empty slots. To clear out solid numbers, press and hold both AF buttons on the back of the camera. Okay, so now that those settings are cleared out, now we can actually calibrate eye control. In order to do this correctly, we have to have the camera up to our eye the entire time until the process is complete. So that means we have to do the horizontal plane and the vertical plane without lifting the camera off our eye. With the mode dial on Cal and one of the empty calibration slots selected, look through the viewfinder, and what you'll see is a flashing right AF point. Half press and look at it until it disappears. Do the same with the left focus point. Now rotate the camera into portrait orientation and do this once more. And that's it, eye control is set up. To turn on the feature, use the camera's menu navigation button on the back and press it until you reach an icon that looks like an eye. Use the multifunction control wheel to set it to 1. Now eye control is on. At first, I was not impressed with Eye Control Autofocusing. It had the tendency to select the wrong AF point. But after spending some time with the camera, I realized that the calibration process is very precise. You have to spend some time with it, sometimes doing it over again until you get eye control working the way that you want it to. I see it working best in a studio, maybe a portraiture situation, where you need to move your focus point quickly without too much fuss. I am wondering how the system works with a telephoto lens. I didn't test it out mainly because it would make the video way too long, but if you're interested, let me know in the comments and I might make a video on that later on. Canon is actually bringing the system back in their new mirrorless cameras, so I'd like to see what improvements they made onto it. Anyway, I took this camera out to a local car show and I took some photos using Eye Control. and it worked very well. Here are some sample images. Let me know what you think. Usability with this camera is great. It has a well thought out design and it has features that allow the user to focus on capturing the image. The camera is a pleasure to use. It has a good sized grip and it has a nice weight to it. All of the controls are easily accessible. When in use, the camera doesn't get in the way, allowing you the freedom to focus on other things like composition and lighting. What I like about this design is that you can have this up to your eye and you can switch between the different tracking modes without looking, or go straight into burst mode, just like that. On the left hand side, you have your program modes, and then also your metering modes. It's a very intuitive design. Lens selection for this camera is excellent. Canon's EF mount has been around for almost 34 years, which is recently replaced by their RF mount. You'll be able to find lenses for this, ranging from wide angle to super telephoto, and anything else made by third-party manufacturers that will fit this camera. One thing to note though is that this will not work with EFS lenses. Those were made specifically for APS digital bodies and will actually damage this camera if you were to mount it on. What I have on right now is a 40mm STM pancake lens made for modern digital full-frame cameras, and it'll work just great with this film camera. What I like about it is that it's small and compact, and it makes the camera super portable. Another thing I like is that this camera can be picked up for under $50 as of this recording. It is impressive given the camera's feature set. So now we're at durability. This camera is very solid. Its aluminum and plastic composite body have held up very well over the years. It's even taken a few knocks. Everything still has a nice, clicky, tactile feel to it, which is impressive given the camera's age. Its motor drive operates quietly, and it leaves even spacing between the frames. One thing to note though is the battery compartment door. It uses a live hinge, and what that means is that if you're not careful when changing the battery, it could possibly break off. It's a rare occurrence, but I have read of it happening to others. The main thing is not to crank the door open. Just open it enough to get the battery in, and that's it. So in conclusion, is the Elan 2E worth picking up for 35mm? I believe it is. It is a well-rounded camera body with many useful features that make it easy and enjoyable to use. And its Eye Control Autofocusing system can be helpful in the right situations. Alright, if you enjoyed the video or learned something new, please hit the like button. It helps this channel grow. And if you'd like to see more content like this, consider subscribing. Okay, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.